welcome back to the Automator Series for another episode. And as you can see, I'm with the very angelic Jennifer Love today. So I just want to say thanks very much for taking the time
Hello.
this morning.
Absolutely. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, no, I love kind of the look you got going with the background right now. So for everyone who doesn't know you, without knowing more than you're an angel right now, can you kind of just say what's up to everyone and explain what you're doing, tell people a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I'm Jennifer Love. I'm a passionate, authentic intuitive who helps people love themselves and live more fully in their bodies. So, as I said, I'm an angel intuitive, hence the angel wings behind me. This is kind of my office space where I do all of my virtual readings. So,
Mm.
when I meet my clients here, it's kind of a nice background to have to inspire and have the angels with us as I do my intuitive readings. So, yeah, I do intuitive readings, I do some energy work, and I'm also a feminine embodiment coach.
Mm.
So I help women teach sensual movement classes and help people become more embodied, which is kind of a unique niche in the spirituality uh, business, I want to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's beautiful. And I mean, are you specifically also working with majority women with all of it, not just the female embodiment? Is it also with the intuitive readings you find you're working mostly with women?
No, and I probably should have, specified my specialty is love readings. I'm Jennifer Love. I do love and relationship readings primarily. And while 80% of my clients are women, I do have 20% of my clients are men.
Mm.
So yeah, I read for all genders, and certainly, all types of relationships. We're not discriminating against anybody. I've read for um, heterosexual couples, homosexual couples, and even couples who don't want to even be in a committed relationship. People
Mm.
have different types of goals these days in terms of relationships. So, um, we're not judgmental in any way in the types of relationships that people want to have or aspire to have or have. So,
Mm.
yeah, all sorts of love going on these days, and it's all love. So, it really doesn't matter. And the angels are not judging you in the
Mm.
types of relationships that you want to have because the goal is love, and that's all that matters.
No, beautiful. I always ask just for the extra content so people kind of know, okay, this is exactly the focus. And I
Yeah,
always love for people who
right.
don't have any background so they know exactly kind of who you are, where your passions are, things like that. I mean, also,
Exactly. And I always assume people know because of my name, but I need to spell it out.
yeah, I mean, definitely it alludes to it like positivity, good vibes, definitely from just the name aspect. I mean, and for you, because like a lot of people I've spoken with, they kind of ended up teaching what they're doing and working with the people they're working with just based on their own journeys. Like, I would love to hear more about just how you kind of ended up in this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably talk about my own journey for 20,000 hours, but let me try to shorten it up a bit. Um, yeah, I currently I'm a single mother in my 40s, but I was married for 11 years and I was incredibly unhappy in a corporate job. I was severely overweight, obese, and I was incredibly unhappy in the job I was in a corporate role.
Mm,
Incredibly successful, though, made a ton of money,
mm,
big house. You think, you have all of the trappings of what we call the American dream,
mm,
the house, the car, the marriage, the kid, you're doing great. But you're incredibly unhappy inside, and you feel like, is this it? Is this what I'm supposed to do?
Mm.
Um, and I had, done everything I was supposed to do. I had 2 degrees. I had, all of the trappings of success, but I was depressed,
Yeah.
and I was unhappy in my marriage, and I was unhealthy. Um, and so the first thing to go was the marriage, and then I got healthy, lost
Mm.
weight. I lost 130 pounds. I found my feminine movement practice, um, which is called S Factor,
Mm.
and eventually became a teacher of this movement. I found spirituality kind of in the same um, way, in the same path, kind of finding all these different modalities at the same time. But yeah, and it was just kind of like the journey kind of unfolds as you move along the path. It's when the student is ready, the teacher appears, kind of thing.
Mm.
Um, and as I started on my spiritual path and um, becoming more intuitive, um, doing readings part time while maintaining a corporate job, all of a sudden I lost my corporate job.
Mm.
The situation kind of came to be in a very unique way, which I won't get into. I lost my job.
Yeah.
And so I thought this is a really great opportunity for me to do what I've always wanted to do full time.
Mm.
So then I became an entrepreneur, and so much happier, so much healthier.
Mm.
I get to spend more time with my child. I don't have to travel all over the country anymore like I did as a consultant, and I get to help people love themselves more. And yeah, that's kind of my journey, abbreviated,
No,
short,
that's
in a
that's
nutshell.
incredible. Firstly, I think for a lot of people, they're gonna see themselves in that story because so many people I've spoken with also
Yeah,
very successful on paper. Like you said, you literally had all the check boxes, like really good
check, check,
paycheck,
check. Yeah,
cars, house, kids, everything, 2 degrees, everything. But it's like you just knew something wasn't right. Like you just were not happy, even though
right,
other people might be
right,
looking at you being like, wow, she's literally got everything I've wanted, but you're like, this sucks. You're just like, I'm not
right.
happy.
Yeah, yeah. And you kind of feel ungrateful at that point. You think, what's wrong with me? You know, because other people, you said, like other people look at you, they look into your life and go, why are you unhappy?
Yeah.
What's wrong with you? You're middle class, you don't have anything to complain about.
Mm.
And it's kind of like this syndrome almost of, you know, it's kind of a joke almost, I think, today also, of upper middle class women trying to find themselves, right?
Mm.
But it's literally an epidemic of women who go through life either numb or unhappy because they're so disembodied.
Mm.
And by the time they get to me, some people don't even know the difference um, when they're hungry and when they're not,
Mm.
or when they have shut off their emotions so much that they can't even tell you how they feel right now.
Mm.
They can't name an emotion. Um, they've ignored their body's cues so much that it's a little crass, but they hold the urge to go to the bathroom in for hours and hours and hours on end.
Mm.
When you don't need to do that. We're not in high school anymore. You don't
Yeah.
have to raise your hand to the teacher to go to the bathroom,
Yeah.
right? So it's just so sad how people ignore what the body's trying to tell them,
Mm.
um, because they're just numbing it out, shutting it down. People use alcohol to turn off their body. They use drugs. They use shopping. They
Mm.
use spending,
Yeah.
compulsive gambling. Um, we also shut down pain in our bodies. Hey, if you're, have a headache, pop a pill. You know, don't try to find the source of the headache
Just
or
numb it.
why
Yeah.
does my elbow hurt. Let's just numb it. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just ignore it completely. Because pain is just the body trying to tell you something. Your
Mm,
body's just trying to communicate with you. So, yeah, it's just it's so sad to me that people are running around numb
mm,
and ignoring all of these wonderful, pleasurable sensations that we all have access to if
mm,
we just like take a moment to sit with it.
mm. One thing you mentioned, which
Yeah.
I'm really curious about, because a lot of people I've spoken to, well, and also know from my own experience, when I was also kind of in a job, I knew something wasn't right, I wasn't happy about it, and I had kind of like outside influences. I had friends traveling and working online and creating businesses, and I was like, that looks a lot more exciting, and that's kind of was my catalyst. And I just like dropped work, everything. I quit the job. Well, I was there for a little bit more, but then I kind of really made that switch. But it sounds like for you there was kind of not a trigger, but like a turning point. But you still stayed working for quite a while and like really made
Yeah.
those changes.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to hear if you're open to sharing. Like, what was that actual turning point that you were like, I need to start changing all these things? Like you said, the relationship, working with your health. Like, was there a specific moment?
I remember, I just kind of was thinking one day, I wasn't like in like a serious health crisis. I know a lot of people like have, I was really overweight, but I didn't have like a serious health issue where the doctor was like telling me, you got to lose weight or something's going to happen. I just
Yeah.
remember thinking, I'm half Mexican and diabetes is kind of a genetic heritage thing that I need to
Mm,
worry about. A lot of people in my family had type 2 diabetes and being overweight is kind of a risk factor associated with that. So I
mm,
kind of knew that if I stayed on this path, very likely to have diabetes by the time I was 50. Very likely. Just being 200 plus pounds, very likely to have diabetes at that weight. I
yeah.
didn't have it yet, but it was just very likely that I was on that path. Um, and I just thought to myself, if I died, then my daughter will not have a mother.
Mm,
And it just hit me one day that if I die, my daughter's not going to have a mother. And I just thought, I can't do that to my child. I brought her into this life and
mm,
I can't leave her without a mother. And for some reason, that was enough for me to start taking care of myself, which is kind of sad in a way that I didn't do it for myself. I
mm,
didn't take care of my health for myself. I did it for my child. That
yeah.
was my motivation, honestly. Like for some reason, I just woke up one day and I was like, I need to do this for my child because I want to be around for her.
Yeah.
Um, but that was enough for me. That was enough for me. That was enough motivation for me to lose weight. And so I guess, whatever works for you, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Whatever, find that motivation that works for you is perfect because that's what did it for me. That's what kind of like turned my head around that I was like, wow, I really need to I need to be around. I need to be here. Because I think because I was so depressed, I couldn't really do it for myself.
Yeah.
And so I think my guardian angel gave me that inspiration
Mm,
that, okay, if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your child because
yeah.
you love her more than yourself. At
Yeah.
this moment, I did love her more than myself.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I kind of like my whole like journey has been like that. I was so like reluctant to surrender my corporate job. I
Mm,
was like hanging on to it for dear life. I was doing my readings. I was getting really good at it. I was getting more clients. I was like, I really enjoyed it, but I was still in the spiritual closet. I was like not telling anybody that I did it. I was like
wow.
hiding the fact that I was doing readings and like
Yeah.
I enjoyed doing it, but I was like not telling anybody about it. And um, so it's a little difficult to grow a business when you're not telling anybody about it, right?
Yeah.
But I would just get referrals. I would get referrals from the clients that were happy, told other people about it. And so that
Mm,
was really the only advertising I did. but I was just so like reluctant to surrender and let go of my corporate job that I was literally forced out of it
Mm.
by God, universe, source, whatever you want to call it. That was the only reason I moved forward
Yeah.
into kind of this full-time, you know, professional career. Um, I think I would still be there, honestly, because I
Yeah.
was so afraid to kind of take that leap that it was literally forced upon me. Um, so yeah, I just think certain things are just kind of serendipitous and like happen, you know.
Mm.
Um, Maybe I would have come to that conclusion in another couple of years. I don't know, but I'm lucky, I guess. I'm glad it happened
Mm.
because it helped me on my path.
Yeah, it's interesting. Now, like obviously, this is just kind of how I'm interpreting it, but it sounds like it's because you'd been so successful in your job and you'd been involved there for so long. It's like your identity was so tied to that, and then it's like you kind of
Absolutely.
showing that more spiritual side to also such a corporate kind of world. And like I know for me, like I might have been afraid of people being like, "Oh, what are you doing?" or like, "What is this?" or like kind of looking at you differently when they've known
Yeah.
you as one way for so long.
Well, and I'm very into personal development. I'm constantly working on myself. And I think that's really important for everyone, just in general. It doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to be in spirituality or anything.
Mm.
Um, but I was in a training this past weekend, um, and I had a total like aha about myself
Yeah.
that it's still hard for me to surrender to the unknown because my corporate career was in strategy.
Mm.
I would create 10-year strategic plans for corporations. My consulting firm would send me out to businesses and I would create strategic plans for them. Um, so I'm used to thinking long term, big plans, strategic thinker,
Yeah.
and I like to have a plan. I'm a
Mm.
planner, right? But right now in my own business, I don't know what steps 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 are. I just know the first next steps, one, two, three. And it's scary to me to not know what the next 10 years are going to be
Mm.
because I'm a small business. I don't know what's going to happen in 2022 because, hey, it's like just a business of one, you
Yeah.
know? So it's kind of crazy to be like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I have somewhat of a strategy, but not like this big long term strategy. And so the idea of like surrendering to that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny to like admit that to myself, to the people that I was studying with over the weekend. And yeah, just like constantly learning more things about yourself. It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you should, you know, always a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, it sounds like you had to go into a very different energy. Like you said, it's very strategic, very big thinking, and now you're in this very kind of uh, not go with it, but yeah, it's just a very, very different energy.
Yeah, what's interesting about that I found was the dancing that I've done. It's very feminine.
Mm.
So working in a corporate structure is very masculine. So a
Yeah.
lot of women have to move into a masculine energy to be successful at work, which is
Mm.
pretty normal. We have to be more masculine to work in a masculine world, doing, thinking, planning,
Mm.
structure. And then when I learned this feminine movement, I got more into my feminine energy and I got more comfortable with intuition and flowing and collaboration and community and connection. And then all of a sudden, that masculine stuff wasn't as important or appealing. And I got into this intuitive business that I could get more comfortable with yeah, I don't really care about knowing what's going to happen. And the plan isn't that important. And I could just flow with what's going to happen. So, um, I actually got more comfortable in that feminine space, which
Mm.
is more creative and intuitive. And it's interesting. Um, and I can flow much easier back and forth between the masculine and feminine energy, um, that I had a really hard time with before that period. So a lot of people are great at moving between masculine and feminine. I
Mm,
personally wasn't prior to doing this feminine embodiment work. I was very much in my masculine. It was very difficult for me to switch into a feminine energy when I got
mm,
home, for example.
yeah.
I stayed in the masculine, you know. So I admire people who naturally can flow back and forth, but I had to learn it. So I teach women how to do that now.
Yeah. I mean, no, speaking of flow, like I'm kind of the same, but the opposite. I'm, well, yeah, very in my masculine, very like strategic, detail orientated, things like that. And I've had to
Sure.
learn to be the more feminine side. But obviously, I'm not necessarily doing things like dancing and things like that, but it's just also going, trusting
Yeah.
instinct, going with things a little bit more, not
Just
having to.
energetically. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But also, I've had to very much train it just because that wasn't my upbringing. Like, that's kind of not what I was exposed to growing up, type of thing.
Right. Well, it's not exactly valued in our society to be unstructured and creative and to go with the flow,
Yeah.
right? Those aren't really valued things in Western society. So I'm not surprised you had to learn it because we don't train that.
Yeah.
We don't reward that in school.
Mm,
They don't give awards for creativity. They give awards for achievement.
yeah.
So, you know, hopefully, as we evolve, we'll be, encouraging younger the younger generation to be more creative and intuitive along with achieving and planning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this would be something awesome to dive into a little bit more. So you were in the very corporate life, you kind of were taking on this secret identity of starting to look after yourself, work on yourself, get more exposed to these things. It sounds like it all started with the working just kind of on your weight, making yourself kind of feel better. And from there, was it just, oh wow, I feel so much better now. What else can I do? And how did you kind of start finding these other things like female embodiments and more spiritual side trainings? How did you come across them?
I'm not really sure how I came across them. I think, that's more like it was put in my path or presented to me. I started watching an angel card reader on YouTube.
Mm,
That was kind of my first exposure to angel cards, angel card readings. Um, and then I went to like an intuitive class. I remember I went to a intuitive class, and the first class that I went to, I remember channeling a message for another participant because they like pair you up and then you like give readings to each other
mm,
as practice.
mm,
And the woman that I gave a message to um, completely denied my message. She was
mm,
like, I don't know what you're talking about. That means nothing to me. And I just thought, oh, wow, I'm not intuitive at all.
mm.
And I kind of just went, wow, I'm just not good at this. I guess I should stop. And I did. And so that
Oh
was
wow.
my first like intuitive class. I just went, yeah, I'm not intuitive. Just gotta like let this go. And I stopped for like 4 years
Oh wow.
after that experience.
Yeah.
It was like 2010.
Mm,
Um, and so I just kept watching the woman on YouTube. I just was like, okay, well, I'm not intuitive. I'll just watch her.
mm,
And then for some reason, I went back again after 4 years. I went to another training. And this time, when I was paired up with someone, um, our eyes were shut. They made us close our eyes when we were partnered and facing each other. And I just channeled the message. And then when I opened my eyes, the woman was like sobbing, bawling, crying.
mm,
And I was like, oh God, what did I do?
yeah.
And she was just like, wow, your message was so inspired and spot on and
Mm,
amazing. Like, thank you so much. That meant so much to me. And it was great. And so then I was like, wow, maybe I am intuitive after all.
Yeah.
So after that training, then I was like, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe I should explore this some more. And so
Mm.
after that, I started to go to more trainings and more. So it's interesting how one person's opinion can make such a huge difference um, on your journey. Like a complete stranger shut me down, and I was
Yeah.
just like, oh yeah, I'm definitely not intuitive now, and I can't believe how much I let that influence me um, for such a long time. I would love to like talk to that woman now and
Yeah,
go, hey,
it's like
you
one
know,
year. She was like, "Oh, by the way, 1 year later, I thought about your message again, and it was completely right, but you didn't."
right?
Just
And that's the thing. That's the thing that happens with a lot of my clients too. Like even if they like deny me now, I go, okay, just sit with it. You know,
mm,
just think about it. I don't ever doubt myself now because I know that I'm right. But
yeah,
yeah, it's true. People sometimes aren't ready to hear what you have to tell them. So yeah, you just have to like let them sit
sit
with
with
it.
it.
They're
Yeah,
maybe not ready to hear what you have to say. And especially when you're talking about love and relationships, um, I don't always tell people what they want to hear.
yeah,
Um, this may not be the love of your life that we're talking about, and you may not want to hear that right now. So that's not always the easiest message to deliver, and I try to deliver with much compassion as I can. But if that person is not ready to hear that, it can be really difficult. So, yeah, don't ever ask a question you don't want the answer to.
uh,
That's
yeah.
my advice.
If you can't handle the truth type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, that's really interesting. Like that the first time, like that you kind of got shut down because, like you said, you didn't have that certainty back then. So, like whatever someone said had quite a
No.
big influence. You're like, I don't know how this is meant to work. They say I was wrong. I guess I'm wrong, type of thing. It's like learning guitar and you
And I'm
completely,
sure the
yeah,
teacher was I'm sure the teacher was encouraging, and I'm sure the teacher was like, "It's okay, don't like worry." But I didn't hear that. I didn't hear
yeah,
the encouraging part. I just heard the part where like she didn't believe me. It
yeah.
didn't resonate with her. And
But I guess also
I'm a
when
fraud.
I guess, like you said as well, because you'd also been on the one side of like more masculine energy for so long, and like you're trying to step out of it, and then someone's like, "No," shuts it down. You're like, "Okay, I'm just going back to what I know," type of thing.
It's so crazy because I remember what I told her too. Like I remember it so it was such a specific thing. Like I saw a man in a green boat. I mean, that's what I remember saying. And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
And I was like,
that is very
okay.
specific.
It was really specific. And I was just like, okay,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, so from that
so
point,
crazy.
I mean, you took that big 4 year gap, you came back to it, started to kind of flow a bit easier for you, and felt better. How quickly from there did you start kind of reaching out to people, finding clients? Because you said you were kind of doing it low key at the start while you were still working. Um, how did kind of it come to you if you were keeping it so low key?
Yeah, it's interesting. The the kind of courses that, I was taking, they have a lot of like Facebook groups that you practice readings with people. So the
Mm,
way that you get like certified with their trainings is that you do a lot of practice readings in the Facebook group. So you like
mm,
trade readings with people in order to practice, in order to get certified as whatever reader they're certifying you to be. So I would practice with other people in these groups. And then, these people would be like, oh, that was a great reading. Can you read for me again? Like,
ah,
just as a favor, oh,
yeah,
I have like, I can't find my keys, or, can you like give me a reading, tell me where my keys are? I lost my keys. Oh yeah, I think they might be in the living room sofa. Go check there. Oh,
mm,
okay. Yeah, they're there. Thanks, Jennifer. Okay. Um, stuff like that, or like, I'm really having a problem with my boyfriend. Can you pull me a card to see like what's going on? Oh
Mm,
yeah, sure, whatever. And then from there, like these people that were in the group, they'd be like, well, my sister would really like a reading. I told her about you. Do you think you could give my sister a reading? And I'd be like, sure, like I'll give your sister a reading. Yeah. So then like it kind of like refers from there.
mm,
So I would get like referrals from people based upon the people I'd already read for um, in these groups that I had like participated in. And of course, like my own friends would refer their friends to me.
mm,
And of course, like my hairstylist has a girl that, knows that I read, so stuff like that,
yeah.
so it's not just the people in my immediate circle. It started to get to be those people, and then the people that know those people, and it kind of like branches
Mm,
outwards, I want to say. And then I started on social media
mm,
um, to try to build a following. And then people would start to contact me that saw me on social media. I started a YouTube channel where I would do readings, monthly readings, kind of like a forecast for people. And then
mm,
people that saw me do those readings would want to buy a reading from me. So it kind of like build through social media like that.
yeah.
Um, yeah, that's kind of how I built like my initial kind of ground floor
Yeah.
business.
No, I mean, I love the part that you mentioned, which also surprised me because someone else mentioned something like that to me, in that they were part of a coaching, they went through a coaching training. It was for more business coaching, but even in their kind of business coaching group, they were all training to be coaches. They were kind of working with each other. And also, same as you, that's how they kind of got their first people to work with and get those references of like, oh, people are actually benefiting from this, and then they're referring people to me. It's
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. It's like even reaching out to people in the same, doing the same thing as you, but you've got your own interpretation, you've got your own kind of way about it, and people can still benefit from that and want to work with you on that.
The people that give the readings are, I think, one of the biggest clients that buy readings too. They're the
Yeah.
biggest junkies, or the biggest, you know, clients that go buy these readings from other people too. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I like to get readings obviously from other people as well. I don't think I've paid for a reading in God knows how many years, because I have so many friends that do them. We just trade. But I love to get readings. So yeah, I mean, I do it all the time. But I have like connections, so I mean, I don't really pay for them anymore. But um, it's all a trade.
Yeah. No, it's
But
beautiful to
yeah, everybody loves to
that.
get readings. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely like,
No, but also that community aspect. I think that's very cool. It's like you're, I don't want to say you're keeping each other like sharp, if you know what I mean, but it's like I'm guessing you're also discussing ideas and concepts, and then you bring ideas in from them, even though you are doing the same thing. You got your own interpretation. So like, oh wow, that was an interesting way to go about it, and then you
right.
introduce that, and same for them. They do it with you, and they take something away from you, and then introduce it to the people they're working with, and that is really nice, helping each other kind of grow and take stuff away from each other.
Yeah, it's also really interesting, like networking too. I've been a part of this group called Angel Team,
Mm,
which Kyle Gray runs. He's an angel expert in Scotland.
mm,
Um, I've been part of his group. I've been a student of his group for 5 years. And I've met a lot of people like networking through his group. But this year, he decided to have um, a lot of his students who are professional be mentor teachers
mm,
inside the group. So he wanted some of us to actually teach lessons within the group. He teaches lessons, but he wanted students to be teaching lessons that are, you know, professionals, they're certified. So he picked 12 of us to actually teach. And so I'm one of the 12 that are actually teaching within the group. But what's interesting is that everybody kind of has their own specialty. So, like, one of the teachers is a specialist in breath work, one of them
Mm.
is a specialist in the Akashic records, one of them is a specialist in mediumship. One of them is a specialist in being an alignment coach. So it's just fascinating how we're all united in our experience of studying angels. And of course, I'm the love specialist. So, but like, we're all united in this one experience, but we all have our separate niche.
Mm.
And so when we do have clients that, so like if I had a client who wanted to study more about breath work, I absolutely would refer them to my colleague
Mm.
who's the specialist in breath work.
Yeah.
Because it's not me.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about it to be, you know, the best person for her. So I would definitely know who it is though, because I know all of these people with all of these great specialties. So yeah, it's really nice to have that kind of network that you know all these experts in all these different areas because you've been studying with them for 10 years.
Yeah, it's also beautiful because you can like I don't want to say solve the problem, but you can handle something someone wants to work on in many different ways. Like you said, um, love could be
Yeah,
approached from one way with breathwork, could be approached another way with Reiki. It could be so. It's also it gives people the options of
absolutely.
finding what resonates with them, how they kind of see the world and their experiences. Like maybe coming from a Reiki aspect,
Hmm.
they're like, "This is my jam," or crystal therapy, like, "Oh no, that's my jam." So it's cool to have that network
Right.
of everyone's an expert at a different aspect of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm. One thing I'd love to end on. So for now, you're in this big community and such, but kind of where are you wanting to take it? Are you looking at introducing some programs, or where you wanting to grow the Jennifer Love vibes into the world?
Yeah, I just launched an online course earlier this year with my good friend Avery Rose. We launched a Twin Flame Masterclass. It's like my first online course.
Mm.
And I'm getting ready to launch another online course quite soon. So I kind of see, you know, my business moving in that direction, more spiritual teaching,
Mm.
because I really like mentoring people. I'm doing more spiritual coaching now, and along with the readings, like I'm not giving up readings, obviously, but I kind of see my business, you know, kind of in a, like a multi-pronged fashion, right? There's
Yeah.
the readings, there's the coaching, and then, you know, there's the teaching.
Mm.
So yeah, I kind of like want to do these different, you know, aspects. And it's just interesting, you know, I just find, you know, it's evolving, you know, there's not just one thing, you know, to do all the time.
Mm.
And I never thought it would just be like, I never thought it would just be readings. I just knew it would evolve over time. I just didn't know kind of what form it would take. Um, I'm going to put out an oracle deck of my own really
Mm.
soon. I'm putting the cards together, which is really fun for me, um, because I never really thought I was that creative. But it's really a fun project. And of course, I still teach my dance classes because I just love doing it.
Mm.
And yeah, you know, I also have an Etsy store because I started like making crystal jewelry when I
Mm.
was going through my crystal energy guide certification. I was buying all these crystals because I was just doing this crystal certification. I just started buying all these crystals like crazy. And I just had too many. So I just
Mm.
started making crystal jewelry. And then I was like, I should sell this because I don't need all these crystals. Like, it's
Mm.
just too many. And so that, yeah, I started selling them on Etsy and people started buying them. I was like, oh, this is fun. I should do. So yeah, I have some crystal jewelry now. So I put Reiki in it because I just feel like it's more love going out there
Mm.
to people.
Yeah, it's all just
So
different
yeah, I just
mediums
have a
for
lot
you
of
to
different
express.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, so I don't really know like what else might be coming in 2022 and beyond, but that's what's coming this year.
Oh, amazing. Well, of those, kind of as we wrap up, if people want to reach out to you and see more about what you're doing, check out some of your jewelry, maybe do some work with you in regards to relationship space or anything, what's the best way for people to connect with you, see what you're doing, reach out to you?
Yeah, my website is jenniferlove.me. I'm really active on Instagram. My Instagram is jenniferlove.me.
Hmm.
And my Facebook is I am Jennifer Love.
Incredible. I am really
Those are
grateful
the
for
best
you.
ways to get a hold of me.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for you sharing your journey, your story with us today. I think that's really powerful because it wasn't just you were in a corporate world and then you kind of transitioned to something else. Like you made a lot of big changes, and it was this journey. And you started, and then you stepped out because you kind of had that negative experience at the start, and you got back into it. I think that was really interesting, really cool for people to hear. And thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Gavin. So nice to talk to you.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Automator Series as much as I enjoyed having it. And there are two things I want you to do now. I want you firstly to follow me on YouTube, get that subscription in because you're going to see all the new episodes popping up in that case, and you can stay on top of the series. And the second thing is, I want you to reach out to me. If anything we discussed on the episode today resonated with you in regards to potentially taking a jump into an online spiritual coaching business, or you really have a business and you're wanting to grow that out and you're feeling like you could be impacting a lot more lives, but you don't quite have the time right now, you don't quite have the freedom you wanted, and you don't quite have those systems in place, I want you to reach out to me. It's a no pressure, no strings attached. Send me a message on Facebook, LinkedIn, email, whatever you prefer, and we can just have a conversation and a bit of a back and forth in regards to where you're at, what you're looking for, and how I might be able to help you impact more lives with what you're doing.